Hey, good morning, folks. It's Miles from the Riff Circle. I'm flying solo today. We're going to be doing a discography ranking of one of my favorite bands of all time, Finnish metal band, prog metal band, Amorphis. So let's grab your the metal coffee cup, and we're going to dive into it here. Before we begin, this was an extremely difficult ranking to do. There's going to be folks in the comment section who hate what I've put here. There's going to be folks who love it, because Amorphis is a band that has three distinct eras. And when I was doing this, I went through their whole catalog. I was looking at the comments online. Every album, there is someone in the comment section that says this is easily their best album. It's no comparison. And so what does that mean? People feel strongly about this band. They feel strongly about which era they were brought into the band and liking the band. That includes me myself, and you'll see kind of one of my kind of nostalgia picks higher up than normal here. But we're gonna hop into it. Please don't kill me, folks. Just in the comments, if you don't agree with my list, write your own list. Write why you like the era you like the best. We're just having fun here. We're just talking about Amorphis. Keep in mind, I have spun every album you're gonna see a million times. Again, they're a top 5 band for me. So there's not a bad album in the discography, not one bad one, but there's different styles throughout the eras, and that's the key. So we're gonna hop into it, okay? Number 15, don't kill me, folks. The debut, okay? Karelian Isthmus, 1992. Here's the thing about this one. It's an extremely impressive album for a band of late teens, early 20s, guys from Finland with absolutely no budget and no experience going into the studio and putting an album together. On that alone, it's way better than your average debut album's going to be. Real quick, the artwork on every album is amazing. This one is one of the better ones, probably top 3 artwork from this band. Artwork is always on point. Here's the issue with this one. It's and some people like it for this. It's extremely raw. And again, that's because they had no budget and they were learning. So everything sonically is very flat. The production's very tinny, and it's just, it's just not there sonically, not even close compared to the rest of these. What it does well, though, what I like about it, and I wish Amorphis would go back to this, I like the intros they used to do, and that was only on their first 2 albums. They would have these kind of like doomy piano, gloomy, ominous intros. I wish they would go back to that, because I think they're really cool. And the drumming on this one's very good. I wish they would get back to a little bit faster drumming on some songs, incorporate a little bit more thrash. But other than that, very good guitar work, and the riffs. This is a foundational album. You can see they're building here. Warrior's Trial, Black Embrace, heavy riffs. I mean, like Black Sabbath, inspiration from Black Sabbath and Iomi, just big, heavy, doomy riffs, which is pretty cool. Number 14, kind of no surprise, I would think, is Far From the Sun, 2003. This is the end of Era 2 for them. So that debut being beginning of Era 1, this is the end of Era 2. Typically, the eras for Amorphis have to do with who's singing at the time. Okay. Pasi handling the vocals. Some of the last names I'm not even going to try to pronounce because it's all Finnish. I'm just going to muck them up anyway. But Pasi, underrated vocalist. I think these albums that he's on get a little too much hate, I think. There's some great tracks on this album. We got Day of Your Beliefs, Planetary Misfortune, Far From the Sun. Just good songs in this, but what is lacking and where it falls short is it's uninspired. So the band at the time is splintering. Pasi's going to go his own way. They're not really getting along on the road. Pasi's becoming a bit too much of a distraction, getting a little extreme in his worldviews. And sonically, they were chasing that rock sound of that time period. Again, 2003. Tough time to be a Finnish metal band in 2003 without trying to chase what was popular at the time. So they ditched basically all forms of metal, and it's just like a straight alt rock album. It's too far from their roots. So number 14, not their best outing, but still, it's got some good songs on it. Number 13, Am Universum. Okay, this is the second album with Posse on it, so Era 2. I guess technically it's the third, but we're still in Era 2 here. Not even arguably, it's just objectively their weakest era, I think. And again, you're going to have folks that live and breathe by these two albums. There are people in the comment section that I saw on some of the songs for these albums that live and die by this era. Don't kill me. Just tell me why you like them and have fun with it in the comments, because I still love these albums. This one here, what I love about it is they're trying to do some experimental work. There's some keyboard and saxophone, but again, it's another step away from their foundational sound of prog metal. And it leans in. This is the album that came before the previous one I just showed you, and so it's starting to lean into that just alt rock only. Again, this one came out in 2001, but it ranks lower than it should. I mean, if number 13, it's like, it just goes to show you how crowded this discography is. It's so crowded. Fighting for the top 10 on this discography is an impossible task. And, you got to put them where you put them. So songs on this one: Alone, Goddess of a Sad Man, and Veil of Sin. Just some good tracks there, but, not their best outing. People are going to kill me for this one. You're going to kill me, but you got to understand. I'll explain why. So hear me out. Okay, number 12, Tales from a Thousand Lakes. This is a hardcore fan favorite. I've just lost a bunch of viewers, I'm sure, putting this one at 12, but here's my issue with it. I have one issue. Vocals, okay? And this goes with the debut as well. Amorphis, I've read their whole band biography. Two things they didn't like to do at the beginning. They didn't like vocals and they didn't like writing lyrics. And so you had the rhythm guitarist on vocals for the debut and this. And to me, I'm not going to say it ruins the two albums because I still love them. The riffs, the guitar riffs are just insane on them. But, it weakens the albums for me. The harsh vocals on it are they're not good. And they knew they weren't good. If you read the book, they knew they weren't good. They were actively shopping for a singer, which is why they got Posse to come on board. This suffers from that. However, sonically, this is much better and a huge leap forward from their debut. Again, this is the second album in the discography. They learned a lot from their debut and applied everything they learned to this one. Sonically, the soundstage is much better. Things are thicker. It's not as flat. It's not as tinny. It's just much better production on this one. Still not perfect, but for their second outing, they're really making some moves and getting better. Tracks I love: In the Beginning, Black Winter Day. We got In a Hiding and Drown Maid. Just killer track list on this one. And their first big foray into kind of experimenting away from just straight doom metal. You see little elements of prog in there, so you see where the band is going. Insane that I have this one at number 11. But again, the discography is so crowded. Number 11, Eclipse. This is the first album in the third era, which is the era we're currently in. So they hire new singer Tomi Joutsen for this era. Comes out in 2006. Absolutely phenomenal album. This album completely reinvigorated and reinvented their sound and jump-started their whole career again. They were going down fast from Far From the Sun in 2003. 3 years later, with a new singer, they put this one out and they jump right back up and are just crushing it since. It's the golden era to me. So this is my favorite era by far. So you're going to see a lot of the Tomi Joutsen era stuff from here out, getting higher as we go. I think he's a phenomenal vocalist. And more importantly, when he came on board, the band started to settle on how much prog they wanted in in these albums, and kind of the direction and overall sound they wanted. And you can hear them lay the foundation on this album. So, Two Moons, The Smoke, Brothers Moon, just phenomenal album. Just excellent. Okay, number 10. Album that follows that one, Silent Waters. Again with these album covers. Just very cool. I mean, you get the name on there. It's just awesome. I love the artwork on all their albums. 2007, it's very close to Eclipse. These two, obviously back-to-back albums, they're extremely close together. This one's got a little bit of a harder edge to it. There's, where you saw some more, they tried a couple radio-friendly tracks on Eclipse, like one or two. You don't really get that on this. This is a pretty heavy album. It's got some melancholy to it. It's just phenomenal. And some of the stuff, there's one or two tracks that they play when they do acoustic live sets they'll take from this album, and I love when they do that. So Eye of Crimson Blood, Her Alone are some examples, and then Enigma, that track, those are the top tracks for me on this. Just a great outing, and you can hear them build on what they did with Eclipse. This one comes a year later. Tomi's feeling a little bit more comfortable, and they're just kind of building on that foundation, adding a little bit more prog element and just getting a little heavier, which was good to see. We're going to jump back to their third album, Elegy. Okay, a lot of folks think this should be number one, and I get why. I get it. So this is their best album from that first era. You have, I think, an introduction, a little bit of Posse on this one, as they're trying to bring him into the band. But most importantly for this album is the prog aspect. You get a lot of keyboard and a lot of prog metal, some long tracks on here, leaps and bounds ahead of their previous two efforts, this being their third in their catalog. And it's super impressive how quickly the band learned the ropes in the studio and applied what they've been learning into these albums. Sonically, far superior. Production, far superior. Even the compositions are far superior. The riffs are more complex. The compositions are more complex. Just a phenomenal outing from the band. Interestingly enough, the lineup for this album never was again. This is the one and only lineup. The one and only album from this lineup is going to be right here in this album. Phenomenal album. It came out in 1996, and this was my intro to the band. The first song I had ever heard from Amorphis was Against Widows. When I heard, they opened with a couple of bars in the riff, and then they just drop this heavy growl. Everything just launches at you right at the beginning, and I was just like, who is this band? I need to know who this is. One of the sickest intros to a song I had ever heard, and my introduction to metal in general. So this one's got a special place for me, but again, same with the debut and the follow-up Tales. It's just the doom vocals are just, they're tough. They're tough to listen to. Without them, this would be near perfect. But number 9 in the top 10. It's so crowded. The discography is insanely crowded, but a phenomenal outing. This one, I think if I were to do this list again, this next album could be edged out by Elegy at any given moment. But I put it here because I don't know why. I just love this one. Beginning of Times. This is the alternate cover. This the cover that most people know this one is for the CD cover. It's got the big egg shape on it, which is also a cool cover. But this cover is sick. The vinyl cover is awesome. Here's the thing about this album. Absolutely love it, but my criticism is it's a little too long. It goes on and overstays its welcome slightly. There are some fluff songs that could be cut. And also, I think the track list organization is weak. There's another album that we'll get to where I think the track listing makes the album suffer by quite a bit. And I think this one is on a smaller scale. The album feels very safe. They don't really go out of their depths to do anything too crazy on this one. But it's extremely consistent with the early Joutsen era albums, and I just love it. So Mermaid, Song of the Sage, On a Stranded Shore. They got some female vocals sprinkled throughout, which I love. And it's just a great outing, but I feel like there's some fluff on here, and if you trim it down, you could have quite an album there. So, they're refining their sound, right? So they go from Eclipse into Silent Waters into Beginning of Times. Amorphis themselves are marching towards, like, what does this perfection look like? How do we want this band to sound? Not enough risks taken on that album, but I do love it. And the songs, I think the highs are super high and the lows are not that low, which is kind of the key and why this one's ranked so high. The lows on it are just like not bad at all. Next album up, number 7, Circle. And again, this is the vinyl pressing cover. The CD cover, and I think a lot of folks know this as it's got the face on the front, which is a sick cover, but this one's sick too. And the back's even cooler with you got the skulls in there. Just metal. This album is fierce. This album is this is one of 2 in the discography that is deeply underrated. And we'll get to the other one, but this one's super underrated. There's no obvious radio friendly singles off this one. This album is menacing. It's just like excuse me. It's just it's confrontational almost. It's aggressive right from the get-go on Shades of Grey, which I love. Enchanted by the Moon is just another sick song, super underrated song. An aggressive outing from them, which is great to hear, especially, coming off of Beginning of Times. Well, actually, no, this one's after Skyforger. But when we heard Beginning of Times and some of the other stuff that had some safer, more radio-friendly stuff, this was good to hear some aggression from them, and it adds variation to the discography. One thing that drives me nuts about this album, and Amorphis in general, which I love but also drives me nuts, this album has 5 bonus tracks they recorded for it, okay, which is cool. But, and this is an Amorphis thing, their bonus tracks are better than most of their tracks on their albums. They have the best bonus tracks I've ever heard from any band, and it's not even close. And you had 4 of the 5 of those bonus tracks were better than some of the weaker songs on this album. So I think you could swap out 4 kind of the lower end tracks that made the album with 4 of the 5 best bonus tracks. You'd have a much stronger album. The bonus tracks are insane on that album. Super crazy. But yeah, number 7, Circle, phenomenal album. Next one up, this one was a tough placement for me. A lot of fans want this one higher, and I get why. It's so crowded in the top 5. It's like, how could you possibly figure out what's supposed to be there given the level of quality in the discography? I think if I were to do this again in like a year from now, you could very well see this album and number 5 swapped, and this one makes the top 5. But for this outing, when I ran back through it, I got it at number 6, Queen of Time. What I like about this album, production-wise, this album is huge. It is massive in scale. It is like an epic... It's like the soundtrack to like an epic 3-hour-long, like Lord of the Rings style movie. It's just crazy. They have the layering. They have choirs, orchestra, the female guest star and amongst stars. It's just big, right? It's anthemic right off the bat. The B, amongst stars. Just some absolute killer tracks. Wrong Direction is another one I really like. It's just an incredible track. They're on this album, they're close to perfecting the Amorphis sound, and I think a lot of folks would say no, they did. It's perfect on this album. For me, the nitpick I have for this album is some of the experimentation felt a little off. So they did some heavy experimentation on Daughter of Hate, where they had a saxophone, some tribal chanting, some spoken word, all crammed in this one song. And with just aggressive, harsh vocals throughout. And I think I would have liked to seen that experimentation spread around a little bit. It just felt like they dumped it all into this one song, and then it didn't flow for me personally that well. But I think it's a cool song, don't get me wrong, but I just would have liked to have seen some of that on some of the other songs. And again, with the production feeling so big and grandiose, the variation on the album can get a little too similar and you kind of, there's no down moments, just this wall of epic coming at you, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, it's sick, but you know, it needs a little bit more variation, I think. That said, the drum production on this is far better than something like Beginning of Times. The drums feel deep, wide. The toms feel super dense on the drum production, whereas in Beginning of Times feels a little bit plasticky, like a little shallow, and that has that overall sound that like, boom, this like, we're coming, like this is, it's big. I said to one of my friends earlier, it's probably Mike. You folks have seen him on Riff Circle. I said, this feels like it's the soundtrack to an epic 3-hour movie, and Beginning of Times feels like the soundtrack to a video game. That's the best way I can describe it. It's just, this one's just so epic. It doesn't stop. It's in your face. But it's number 6. Again, just crowded discography. Number 5, Under the Red Cloud. Okay. We're in the top 5 now. These albums are just, to me, for me personally, the top of the line, just the best of the best. At this point in the Tomi Joutsen era, they're really coming off of Circle. This one's very similar to Circle, but it's shaping itself towards a larger scale. So it's one step towards Queen of Time, where Queen of Time's just like wall of scale, and Circle's more like this harsh, everything's in the mid, and it's just coming at you. This kind of adds a little bit of breadth to the scale and the production, and adds a lot of progressive elements, which I like. But there's still some really good variation in there. It's got some flute on it, so there's some experimentation, not quite as experimental as Queen of Time, but it's got some in there. Just tracks on here that are just crazy. Just the opening track. I gotta pause for a second. Every opening track on an Amorphis album is insanely good. When in doubt, start on track 1. All of them are insanely good. But Under the Red Cloud, 4 wise ones, which had it dialed back to some of the heavier roots from Amorphis, which I like to see. And then Tree of Ages, which is just like really trenched in that folk style, that Celtic. They got the flute, some acoustic, and it launches from that. It's just a really cool track. I love when Amorphis launches into the Celtic folky roots of that Finnish style music. It just adds so much to the album. And I think it really adds some variation and some depth to the album. So I loved seeing that. Okay. Top 4. This is where you're going to get my second underrated pick. So I think Circle's underrated in the discography. I think this next album, my number 4, it is a nostalgia pick for me. So I'll admit that right off the bat. There's a lot of nostalgia pick for me, which is going to weigh this album a lot heavier for me than it will you folks at home. There's going to be a lot of folks that look at this album and say, why there? Doesn't belong there. And there's going to be some folks that are like, and I've seen them in the comments. Okay, when I was going through the albums and listening to the tunes, that say this is it right here. This is Amorphis at their peak. I don't think it's at their peak, but I do think this album is super underrated, and it's underrated in how it's aging. This album is aging extremely well, and it came out at a really hard time. So it's 1999's Tuonela. And I think this album cover is phenomenal for what they were trying to capture. What they're trying to capture is just this melancholy, little inward looking, almost a tired feel. And I know that for some folks, it's like, why would you want a metal band sounding, melancholy and tired and, a little bit reflective? But overall, there's nothing like this in the discography. So if you're listening to the discography like I was doing when I made this list, this is the kind of a breath of fresh air. When you hit it, you're like, interesting. They're coming off of Elegy with this one. Passy's he's the singer, Pasi Koskinen, singer on all the tracks and doing the lyric work. This is by far his best showing in his era. And I think he does a really good job on this. But it's just got some absolute killer tracks on it that just go under the radar. and it's got the perfect amount of experimentation. It really does. So it's got tenor sax on Nightfall. Who would think in 1999 you're making like a progressive metal, you're going into a rock era, but you're not there yet, and you're like, we need some tenor sax on this. No one's doing that. Then you got sitar. Okay, you got Asa Jalapenian, the lead guitarist. He's doing sitar on the track Greed. There's just texture everywhere. And then you have Rusty Moon with the flute. There's experimentation and texture. It's coming off of one of their most experimental albums, Elegy, so they still have that experimentation, that they're trying to chase, and it shows up here big time. My favorite tracks on this, you got The Way, again, another killer opener. You got Withered and Rusty Moon. Rusty Moon's another one where I've seen them do it in a live acoustic, and it was sick. It was awesome. Again, the flute on that is really good. Underrated album. Again, it's a nostalgia pick, so I totally get it. Some folks are thinking, no way. But it's one of those, if you know, you know. If you like Tuonela, you know why. And again, it adds some variation to the discography, and is by far the best in that era. All right, we're down to the top three. We got a sip from the metal coffee. These top three, even the top five, minus Tuonela. I don't think Tuonela for me is ever going to break top three, but some of those, Under the Red Cloud, Queen of Time, that any one of those could break the top three at any moment. But these three, I love revisiting some of these discographies maybe a year from now and just see what's different and what's changed. Kind of do an update video. This one for me was, so I got into Amorphis on Elegy and then really liked Tuonela, and then kind of fell off when Am Universum and Far From the Sun came about. And again, that's why I ranked them so low. It's just they're too far away from their sound on those two albums. I came back and rediscovered them on this album. It's Skyforger. What an album. This album, when you talk about the highs of the discography, the highest highs are right here on this album. And it's in 3 songs. Sampo, Sky Is Mine, Skyforger. Those are in my opinion, for me, the 3 best songs in their entire discography. That's the style that I prefer, this like anthemic, progressive. They're using the harsh vocals to punch it home. You have these sweeping guitar riffs with the delay on some of them. And they're just huge tracks on scale. And you just feel like you're just... It's the album cover. It's you're taking off. You're just exploding. You're forging the skies. It's like you're invincible when you listen to these 3 tracks. It's just insane how well those carried over, and how good the guitar work, the vocal work is, and how good the keyboard work is on those, in the piano. Insanely good tracks. This one was number 1 for me for the longest time. But in revisiting this is the other album I was talking about that suffers from a very poor track listing, in my opinion. Okay, you start off with Sampo. What a way to kick off the album. I mean, it's insanely good. And then you hit the ultra radio-friendly Silver Bride. And then you go down even further with From the Heaven of My Heart, killing that you brought in the first track. Silver Bride is a great song, but it doesn't really belong there. I would have loved to have seen that as a bonus track. So if I could do anything in rearranging these tracks, put Silver Bride as bonus and the actual bonus track, Godlike Machine, at number 2. And then just get Heaven From My Heart out of there, honestly. And then, so in that, when you reorg like that, you go Sampo, Godlike Machine, into Sky Is Mine, into Majestic Beast. Now you're talking. Now you're going from 0 to 100, and you're flooring it. You're not stopping. Again, it's just a peek into what the band can do on scale and where they were heading, and what I think they wanted to do in Queen of Time. With Queen of Time, they dropped some of the radio-friendly stuff and just went full on this scale for those 3 songs I mentioned, for the whole for the whole album, which was great. Again, the highs are highs, the lows are low for me. But Sampo, Sky Is Mine, Skyforger, just that's peak Amorphis. It doesn't get better for me. Top 2. I did not love this one when it came out, I'll be honest with you. And now I can't get enough of it, and I spin it all the way through, and to me it's perfect. Near perfect. Halo. 2022. Phenomenal album. I was super hyped when this one came out. Couldn't wait for it. The inconsistencies from Skyforger are smoothed out, and from some of the inconsistencies you see from the previous albums are smoothed out. It has more variation than Queen of Time, which came right before this one, and to me, it adds enough variation, but still keeps the scale. The scale, I think, is one notch higher than Under the Red Cloud, one notch lower than Queen of Time. And it's got aggression when it needs it. It's got reflection when it needs it. It's got, it's just got everything. It's got it all. I think the highs are super high. They're not quite Skyforger high, but the lows are nowhere near Skyforger on this one. The lows are not really low at all. I couldn't even tell you where my low would be on this, really. I don't see any tracks that I would count low. But the Moon, Halo, the Wolf, all great. At this point, coming off of Queen of Time, the production has been perfected. Amorphis knows their exact sound. They know what their audience is looking for, and they deliver it right here. Just absolutely excellent. And I got to say, I like how the album closes. My Name is Night. I think after an album like this with a wall of sound, big production, it's got grit, aggression, the soft landing in My Name is Night, again, with the female vocal guest star. I love when they do that. I love when they have female vocals to the juxtaposition against Tomi Joutsen is perfect. His voice goes really well with the singers they've had. And the soft landing is appropriate for this one, I think. So, number 2, absolutely incredible. Number 1 is going to catch some flack. I know that. But I'm here to defend it. It might be Honeymoon Phase. I don't know. I don't think it is, because I've listened to this nonstop since it came out. Borderland. 2025, their latest album. To me, it's a near perfect Amorphis album. Now, as I listen to it more and more, I just love it. I don't get tired of it at all. The only track that feels a little out of place in the production is The Strange. And actually, when I wrote this up, I ended up seeing the keyboardist and the rhythm guitarist talking about that track, and they said they were surprised it made the album based on the production of it. So I felt validated, because I also thought it was a little out of place in comparison to the rest of them. But they were saying what they were trying to do for that one is go back to like a Skyforger and kind of Eclipse roots, like that, those early 3, 4, and of the Joutsen era. And so the rhythm and the melody is just very straightforward. Where everything else feels a little bit more complex and a bit more grand. That one's a little bit more straightforward. So that's the only weak spot I see. And again, it's not a weak spot. I don't skip the song. I listen to this thing all the way through. My other criticism, again, these are nitpick things, because when you weigh it against the other things, it doesn't knock it off first place. The 2 bonus tracks on this are still amazing, but for once in the Amorphis discography, they actually felt like bonus tracks. Like they weren't quite as good, but they were cool to have, which is what a bonus track should be. And I think the bonus tracks fit as bonus tracks, but they like with Circle, 4 of the 5 are just insanely good. It's criminal not putting them on the actual album. But this, they feel more appropriate. The scale, aggression, the melancholy, the anthems, perfectly balanced. Harsh vocals are done in a perfect manner to emphasize, kick something home. Tomi Joutsen sounds excellent on the clean vocals, like he always does. My only criticism for the vocals on this is they tried to add some like super light, almost like they didn't want you to know they were there, effects on Joutsen's vocals on a couple of tracks, and it made it sound a little like overproduced. I didn't really like it. So that's kind of my only thing. And I think for Amorphis on their next album, what they have to do, they must on their next album do some experimentation, because with Queen of Time, Halo, and then the Borderland, that 3-album run, we've heard the perfection of the sound they're going for, and we've reached that peak of that 3-album run. And now they need to surprise us with a different landscape next time, I think, is the number one thing they need to do, because you don't want to be predictable. And I think if they do this again, they're dangerously close to becoming predictable, but they're not there yet. But tracks on here, Bones, just a heavy track, just killer intro on that track. Tempest, and I really love the title track, Borderland. Really sick. There you have it, folks. I know majority of you aren't in the honeymoon phase. Everything I read online is like, hey, this album's good, but it falls middle of the pack. I personally, for me, it delivers everything I'm looking for in an Amorphis album, and it's perfected. I think maybe if I do this discography maybe a year from now, that the biggest potential of change could be that one falls. Halo could slot in at number 1, and then maybe Queen of Time squeaks in and bumps Under the Red Cloud out. That all could happen. That's what we have for it, folks. I want to know yours in the comments. That's the key. Don't hate me too much, please. Put your list in the comments and talk about why you like each era differently. So for me, the Tomi Joutsen era is perfection, and watching them go from Eclipse all the way to Borderland, you can see the progression of perfection and where they're honing in. I think where they honed in is Halo and Borderland are just absolute perfection, great variation in the albums. I think where Halo does something really good is it's got the grit, and where Borderlands does it good, where Borderland does it well is it's got some of that melancholy, reflective stuff that I like from Tuonela. So that's my list. Top 15, top 5 band for me. I love all these albums. I wish I could put them all in the top 5. Let me know your list. Let me know your favorite era. And for the love of God, go listen to the bonus tracks on Circle. Super underrated. All right, folks. Hope to catch you around again. We have more rankings coming your way. We'll revisit this in a year like we should do all rankings and do an updated list. Again, thanks and have a good one. Take care, folks.